5 million prompt tokens. Yes, 5 million prompt tokens context window. This is a new Elm completely. In fact, like before I made this video, I pinched myself to see if I'm living the reality for context. G4 launched with 8 context window, and people actually went bonkers because 8 was like a big deal. At the time, they announced a 30 context window, which has still not come out, and there are other models. And like recently, Claude came up with 100,000 itself, like blew everybody's mind. But now we have a new architecture, a new Elm that can take up to 5 million prompt tokens. I'm still getting over this fact that we have a new Elm that can take 5 million prompt tokens before you get excited, before I move forward with the video. This model is not yet out, and there are certain challenges that we're going to discuss. But what is 5 million? That's approximately 500,000 lines of code, or 5,000 files. That's like almost like an entire repository of a project. If you want a coding assistant for your company, probably like you can feed in everything and then get a coding assistant. And that's exactly what this company is doing. And that's exactly what this 1.1 is, a prototype of a new neural net architecture that has been designed by this company to take giant context windows. And that's what one is with 5 million prompt tokens in their pictures. You probably need to see things to understand, like their example is chess. So the same way you need to see the entire project to code. And that's why they're building something with a giant context window for you to see the entire project. Now getting into the details of this. So what is this Elm? There is a video that, as you can see, that it's ultimately going to be a plugin for VS Code or JetBrains, where you can install this plugin and then use it for coding purposes. It seems, at least from the company and the use cases that they've shown, it seems like this is going to be primarily a code first large language model, but I'm not sure if it is also going to be available for other general language integration process. But if you actually see, it can take 5 million context tokens inside it, and it can also generate a large amount of code. So how was it possible? How did this happen? This happened primarily because they try to scale standard like the GP architecture, but they could not do it. That's quite, everybody knows this, right? That's why people are struggling, and new methods are coming in like Alibi. A lot of these new initiatives are happening, how to enlarge the context window without having to give a large context window while training, because that's going to go through the scaling loss. So what they try to do is they try to create a completely new approach called long-term memory network. And that's what is the LTM-NET is so training and serving. LTM-NET requires a custom L stack. So that's the first catch. So we don't know. Could be like directly easy to run on any CUDA enabled NVIDIA GPU, because what they said is this requires custom L stack from GPU kernels to how these models are distributed across the cluster. So we do not know, even if this model is released, we do not know even as straightforward as importing it on, like downloading it on your local GPU or Google Colab and running it. And I don't think so. That's exactly what they have validated here. So training and serving LTM-NETs require custom L stack from GPU kernels to how we distribute the model across the cluster. So what's next for LTM-NETs generally? So they need more compute. So they've recently raised the funding also. So they've raised a huge round. If you go see, you can see that they have raised $23 million, $3 million, $23 million Series A, and that's what they've raised. And what is their goal? Their singular goal is to build, align, and complete AI to accelerate humanity's progress on the world's most challenging problems. Sounds quite interesting, very similar like what OpenAI started with. And as usual, Nat Friedman is there, like you can literally almost see Nick Friedman on any of these AI startups. So you have got a lot of other interesting names as well. But the point here is that you can see their pitch, what their pitch is, what are they trying to build, and this was posted on the 2nd, and in just like another 4 days, they announced this, LIAM on a large language model with 5 million token context window. And they've got this comparison. So it seems like an interesting proposition. Like, for example, what they're saying next they want to do is they need more compute because MNets need to see, or they see more context than GEPs. And also they have lesser parameters than existing GB models. It makes them that's lesser smart, like less smarter. At least that's what they're saying. So this means they have to learn how to drastically model the scale. So knowing how drastically model scale improves the performance of Jeeps. And we are excited to see how far we can take LTM-NET. So that also means I'm quite interested to see if it actually performs as good as existing Jeeps, or maybe it's not as good as it, but their examples, the coding examples, at least they showed the videos, which I'll link it in the YouTube description, really look good. So they're onboarding a set of alpha users. So if you want to test out the product, it's actually the code completion product that trained on the larger model that's available for commercial release. Then you can join and help them better test it. So basically, they're trying to set up the system so that there's no back-end instability, and also how they are growing the GPU cluster. All you have to do is click the wait list. I'll link it in the YouTube description, fill in the details, name, email, institutions. Where did you hear about it? Probably, I don't know, they don't have experience. And what would you like to automate with not just necessarily the coding problem once you sub it? I don't know how frequent you get to use it, but also they are hiring. So if you want to go join the company, got a bunch of jobs available, but generally it's a very interesting take. It's like completely new architecture. And when somebody says completely new architecture, I'm not entirely sure how new that architecture itself is, but yeah, we have got a new large language model that is a new large language model architecture. In fact, it's not a transformers-based architecture. It seems it's completely new architecture that can take up to 55 million context windows. And their picture's like 50 times bigger than the transformer-based models. I think this comes from Claude's 100 ink into 50. It's like 5 million. So let's see what is going to happen. I just wanted to get this news out for you all. So try it out and join the waiting list.